This will be behind the scenes of changing the ceiling fan in the living room. 3/16/2026, I think. Let's check to see what the date actually is. Yeah, 3/16. So today we're going to install the Altura into the living room. Let's get this on the tripod here. And the Altura comes with an 18-inch rod, which is probably passable, but I think I have a 24-inch rod in a comparable finish, so I'd rather get that out and try to use that. I know where it is. It's in the back over there. I know how to get to it. It's just not very easy to get to. So this is an improvement over the way it was, because I can do this in just a few minutes, but this still has a ways to go because it needs to be easier to get to some of this stuff, especially that which is used frequently, like down rods. You know what? I wasn't giving myself enough credit for the way this was designed. That was actually pretty easy. Especially compared to the way that it was before. So now we can come back here And the down rod is going to be somewhere in this mess, I think. Here it is. So this down rod is new bronze, which is very similar in color to the Altura, and this is a 24 3/4, which is what it takes, and this will put it at the right height for the living room install. So I think that's what we're going to use. Now while I have this all out, well, actually we're not really gaining any advantage from I want to take one thing out of here and move it somewhere else, but it's not worth the time to do it now. Take care of it later. This is not that bad to move this around at all. We gotta do something better for that light eventually. Okay, it wasn't bad at all. Down rod acquired. I just remembered we have some batteries down here need to be charged up. Okay, I'm gonna get the fan out of the other side of the room, and then we'll be ready to install. I stacked up some more pellets here before, or after I put this here. I know I think this through. That wasn't. I got the fan. As far as tools we're gonna need, we're gonna get I think this is number 2 and number 3. Long drill bits, very handy. And we'll get an adjustable wrench, wire strippers. We'll get a manual screwdriver number. Is this a number 1 or number 2? This is number 3. Okay, so then this is probably number 2, and number 1. Which one is this? This is number 2. Okay. I'm dealing with some brain fog again today. We want a number 3 bit, number 3 screwdriver, and we'll bring a number 2 long bits. Number 3 and 2 long bits. I don't think we need a number 1 for anything. I think most of the screws in this are big. We'll bring a number 2 regular screwdriver, and we're not going to need the short one for anything. We'll bring the wire cutting scissors in case we got to trim some wires, and we'll bring the small electric screwdriver and the bits for the small electric screwdriver. That should be all the tools that we're going to need for this operation. Gosh, it's a wonder these tripods and these cameras are not broken. Alright, here's the tools. We'll need this for the other camera setup. Alright, we're just about ready to begin the process. Went and got the ladder, and I also went and got the gloves. Anytime you're working with a fan that has a tarnish or a finish that can tarnish, like brass, definitely want to use the gloves. You want to keep that finish, that surface of that finish, as clean as possible. The air by itself will do enough damage over time. You don't want to add any skin oils to speed up the process. Alright, let's get the cameras. So we'll need the microphones, and one for the regular camera and one for the GoPro camera. We need the GoPro camera. I don't think we'll need another battery because I charged it up prior, and I just mixed up which unit goes to which microphone. That's great. There is no SD card in here, so we need to get an SD card to put into this, which is proving to be a challenge because the SD card that we need is not in here. That's because it's in the computer, which is a logical enough place for it to be. Okay, and then we need a medium modification for this, and we need that short wire which is in the other room already, and we need the microphones which are still in there. One day we'll get it right. And we need the helmet for the camera mount. Which resides in here. And we need the mount. Oh man. We need the mount for the camera. See, all these people that get in there say, oh, you don't cut anything, you don't do anything. Look at all this stuff that's not in the videos. Cut out plenty of stuff. And we need this taller mount for this operation. There's always something making noise around here. We need this tall mount. And we use this tripod for the regular camera version because that's already set up properly. And I'll use this camera for this behind the scenes camera. Okay, so the way this works is we put this camera, make sure this is actually charged up, is we put this camera, and we check the settings in a minute, put this camera in here, like that, and then we have to put this mount on. In this orientation. And then we need the microphone with this piece, the cold shoe, switch this on, and always lock it because sometimes you fumble with the camera and you mess it up. Turn this on. Make sure that's working. It's working. And then we plug this in. This goes like this. This goes in here. And now we want to make sure that the microphone is transmitting. And you have to check it by doing something like this or sliding it along something, because if you're just talking like this, it'll pick up the microphone, it'll pick up the talking, but so would the internal microphone. So you have to make sure that you differentiate between just regular sounds that are in the air versus sounds specifically that this would pick up only. You can see this peaks out when I hit it. So we know that this is working properly. Now, the next thing we need to do is we have to check the settings on this. We're going to use 1080, that's fine, 60 frames. We use a super view lens. We hyper smooth to an auto boost. And we want all that stuff off. This can all be automatic. And this is fine. So we'll select that. And then this slips in here like this. And this should be about a hand's length away, or no, 3 fingers length away, like that. So this is now set up properly. Tighten this down so that it does not move. This is ready to be used. Pair that with that so it doesn't get mixed up. Now I will get the regular camera. This camera, we have to delete some of the videos on this camera because it's almost full. I'm going to delete the videos I recorded last night, and then we have to go back in here and delete this twice. I usually delete it on the computer, but then we have to push this, and then we have to push this, and then we push delete some, delete it, and then that recovers the space. So now this should be, this is empty now. Okay, so then I like to plug this in to start with, and surprisingly this stupid thing recognizes this microphone pretty reliably. But if we plug this in and then we get this little bar on the side, I don't know what the heck that means, but I know when you get that bar, somehow that's an indicator that this was plugged in. Figure that one out. And then again, we'll switch this on and make sure it's transmitting. So then we open this up, and then we push it to push the video, and then we put it at least at least 60 frames at 1080 is fine for this. It's kind of dark in here today, so I don't think we can do a 4K and still get a clear picture. It would be kind of noisy. The picture would be kind of noisy. So I'll bring you back over here. No, probably over here is the best. Let's see, where am I going to be facing? I'm going to face this direction, so this should be over here. Okay, and then I'll get this other camera set up. I'm going to take the windscreen off of this microphone because we just don't need it. And you always want to make sure the microphones, most people don't record the two of them at once, but you want to keep the microphones far enough away from each other such that they're not going to kind of bang around while they're in operation. And there's an issue with this tripod here we're going to fix before we get started. This tripod, the legs are kind of floppy, so what we can do to fix this is very easily corrected. We take our adjustable wrench here and we're going to tighten up these bolts here, these nuts rather. Stupid inversion. They're already pretty tight, but make them a little bit tighter. And now this leg is staying in place. Just kind of adjust it to where we want it. And tighten this one down as well. Tighten all three of these. This leg is still too loose. I should probably get some washers to put on here as well. That might make it a little better than it is now. Okay, that's much better. Now I can pick this up and move it around and the legs don't collapse. Always take steps to make the task easier. That's very different than taking shortcuts. Take a couple seconds to fix something to set yourself up to succeed rather than to have issues later on in the video. Actually, I'm going to tighten this a little bit more. This one leg is... This tripod is messed up. I don't know why. I had to try to fix this because it's a very good tripod other than some of the issues that it's having right now. Okay, so this regular camera, the problem with this is the adjustment isn't right. And I don't understand why it's like that. But other than that, it's an excellent tripod. So this camera, I will probably end up taking in one take and just plots it as needed. This other camera, probably is going to be about one take as well. Put shoes on with this ladder, the rungs are very, very thin. It's not possible for anyone to use it otherwise. And I think we're pretty much ready to get started here. I wonder if we should have the lights on. It is pretty dark in here. Yeah, I'm gonna put the lights on. Put all the lights on for this. Try to make sure we have the best lighting possible. Sometimes you can't, but we always try. I think I'm going to switch this to 4K. This the Ghost Pro camera. We should be able to, because you get a slightly wider, view when it's on hyperview, which you can only get at 4K. And here we go. Just check to make sure all the settings are correct still. Always check it multiple times before you start recording. Otherwise your whole thing might be hosed up. Okay, so this is on 4K hyperview now, which gives an even wider view than super view. It's really incredible how wide the viewing you can get on this thing. Now, viewers, today we're going to be installing a Hampton Bay 68-inch Altura ceiling fan here in the living room. So this comes default with a 18-inch down rod, and I happen to have this 24-inch rod on hand. I don't remember what I bought this for, but it's a new bronze finish, and I think it is going to be close enough that we can use this successfully. And it should be a pretty much exact match to the hardware, because it is a Hampton Bay branded down rod. It's not exactly the same. The texture is a little different. This one is more of a matte finish, whereas the 24-inch one is a semi-gloss finish. But in terms of color, it's pretty much exactly the same. So I think that we're going to use it and just ignore the fact that there's a slight mismatch in the sheen versus on the finish. So we'll have to swap over the bowl, which is a metal one, to this one. We'll use that. And then I think that's all we have to modify here. Everything else should be good to go. We'll use the upper canopy. I think the 18-inch rod would have been okay, but it would not have looked as good as the 24-inch. I'm glad I had it. Balancing kit, total waste of resources. There's got to be, I don't know how many millions of those things in the landfill somewhere. Here is the hardware. Here's the remote and the remote receiver. If there's something I'm curious about on that, we'll get back to that in a minute. Massive blades. Never handled a single thing like this before. I might have to go into the mail and look at a couple things. Canopies. Canopy bracket, which is quite sizable. This, where it goes, these are the motor, and then we have the motor itself, which is kind of difficult to get out of the package here. That's the best way to pick it up to avoid bending the irons once it's out of the box. So what I don't understand about this is how the speed control works, because this remote has a reverse option on it, but the fan's wiring only has fan, high side, light, high side, and common. So how does this remote create the reverse with only being a 2-wire configuration? This doesn't make any sense to me. So there has to be, there has to be something else inside this fan that this interacts with in order to create the reverse, because this, I just don't see how this could create the reverse with only having one motor wire. That just doesn't make any sense. Unless, oh wait a minute, okay, it does have two. This is 2 motor L. This is why I want to study this carefully. This is 2 motor N. This is 2 motor L. And this is for the light. So that means this is not going to be. Well, how would that be then? Where's the common? We have white, blue, and black here, but how is there no common? Let's see if we make some mention of this. So this is showing what's logical enough. You will align the 3, the azul, the negro, and the blanco together from here onto this. That's fine. I would expect that. But oh, wait a minute. Okay, never mind. Motor N is probably neutral. And motor L is probably load or line. But even that's kind of unintuitive, because the neutral or the common is for both the motor and the light. So I guess I just don't quite understand how this creates this. How does it create the reverse? I think this is the heaviest motor I've ever handled after an original. So now we come down here. Hopefully this isn't a frame. I can't really tell. But we have this connector here, and this is probably your motor leads here. You would have, I don't know how the pin-up goes, but you have the common capacitor, forwards and reverse. That's logical enough. And this is coming down from the control, but then wasn't there? Yeah, there's this box here inside of it. Here's your capacitor. I think that this box is some type of an interface for the remote. And I think that this is what's actually creating the speeds. You can see all these wires coming out of here. I think that this is some part of this control box. I think these two things work together. And this is what actually creates the speeds in the reverse. And this might just decode signals from the remote and input the signals into this box. That's what I'm thinking. Because this by itself, there's no way that this is creating the reverse. I can see this creating the speeds, but there's no way that this creates the reverse. It's not possible with the wiring scheme. That's very interesting. I wonder if we should assemble this on the ground. It's probably easier to assemble this now than to assemble this on the ceiling. But then again, we might have trouble putting the down rod on once this is not flat anymore, so I guess we'll do that. Typically this is holding by the irons too, which I don't like. This seems like it's pretty solid when it's one piece. I don't think it's going to get bent. Alright, I'm going to take a quick peruse through the manual. I'll switch to the English side because I assume most of the viewers are probably speaking English. And just make sure that I understand how this works because I've never used one of these before. Curious as to how this switch housing goes together. Oh, okay. So this is not the mounting bracket, that's for the switch housing, which is that. Bracket is inside there. Okay, I think I got everything there. I hope this remote's in working order. This whole apparatus is not particularly useful without it. And I hope that this is something that's easy to replace at this point in time. Let's begin by installing the down rod. We're going to detach this. Attach this as well. Problem what you often have, which is that screw on exactly the same. It's crooked. That's surprising because this is a Hampton Bay rod. There's no people. Alright, well. Actually it's not, it's similar at the top. It's got It's got the screws that we need to connect the canopy ball mounting thing to. This is where it becomes a problem. That's surprising. I was not expecting this to be an issue since I bought the rod to destroy this whole thing. This is there. This just doesn't work with this, because when you have this here, it has to go like this. And there's no hole to connect the grounding screw. And there's no hole to put in the set screw. You turn it 180 degrees, which is your only other option. You have your hole for the grounding screw. Oh no, this is going to work. Okay. You have the hole for the set screw there. Okay. Minor moment of this side and the set screw. So this side of the rod will be correct. It's the fan side that's not going to be correct. And one of the comments I've said about some of these Canopy fans in the past is how quick the finish is. The finish is very good quality on this. There's a lot of imperfections on this. Scratch and frogs. It's kind of disappointing. Now we're going to tap into the hardware bag, locate the unlock pin, which only the mounting screws to the blades, it doesn't do anything else. And this is only blades. Where's the line in it? Isn't that good? Here it is. Here's where all the problems are going to start. First problem is going to be feeding the wires through here, which consistently proves to be nearly impossible task for whatever reason. Nice good leak wires in here. I'm going to bring my electrical snake up, and we'll use the snake to make this process a little easier. And I doubt that this is going to go properly at all. They made it almost to the top. It's the easiest that it's ever been. It's kind of what I would expect it to be like. I don't know why this is so simple. This is nice. There's our common right here. There's another tool I wish I'd brought, the needle pliers. I just don't understand why this is so difficult. What happens to the wires that they don't go through? Hello? 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 Pro camera. overheated. Sometimes this happens. I tried to record it in 4K. We're not going to be able to. It overheated. That's fine. We can record it in 1080. I'll use this break to go get those additional tools that I wanted. I think it overheated quicker this time because I was standing in the draft of the stove here. This does overheat frequently, but not like that much. Usually it lasts longer than that. The camera overheated. Probably because I'm standing in the draft of the stove, which is very comfortable for me, but I guess not so much for the equipment. Okay, so got one wire through there. Snap these up. I just don't understand, what does it get stuck on? Like, I can understand if it gets stuck on the bar there, but it's not. It's nowhere to be seen. It only goes up like 15 inches and it stops. Why is that? I should just go get the same. These are just painful. Keep wasting time until we get this to go through. If anybody knows, I guess we need a physicist to explain this. What happens? Why does the wire stop? This doesn't make any sense. It's a smooth inside surface. It's much wider than the diameter wires. Why do the wires get stuck in there? stopped. Why? And, oh, no, this time it came all the way through. Perfect. So let's get the whole thing there. Or whatever you call it. The pin in. And then this is where the trouble begins with these set screws. Because like this is threaded down there, this is very wobbly. And it's hard to get it to be perfectly straight. In fact, it's not even possible to get it straight. Got it pretty good that time. Interesting. Cool. It's like that. We should all be ready to go. Does this have to go on first? If it does, this thing is just going to go far in the bag. No, it doesn't. Alright, so the motor's good to go. Let's get the fan taken out. Which should go pretty quick because it is a quick connect. This quick connect does look absolutely fantastic in here. Guess we should shut it off first. Start this slowing down. It takes a while. This is a great system. So much easier to work with than a conventional fan that screws together. My wind stopped outside. Actually, I'm going to shut this off. $57. Not too bad. This is one of the nice things that has the bay door. It has little slots on the side so you can screw the bracket in or slide it on or off without taking the screws completely out. Very convenient. Just like the AccuArm, that is a game changer in ease of install. fan up here. I'm a little nervous about carrying that fan up this ladder because it's very heavy. And while this ladder is, I think, rated for 300 pounds, so we'll still be within spec. Is this really strong? 150 kilograms. I don't know how what the conversion is. Kilograms is. I think it's around 300 pounds. Hopefully this is not the last. This is not the last fan, so I'll be good. This is very, very heavy. That is definitely the heaviest non-Hunter original fan I've installed, for sure. Okay. Whew, that was a little difficult, but we got it. Now we're going to get a bit of a tight situation up here. Because we have to get that remote receiver in place, and that's not an easy thing to do sometimes. I'm sweating, it's a little sun right there. That's good. I'll take it over shimmering any day. Okay, so this has to go. Where's sort of up here. Use these included twist-on wire connectors. I wish they included smaller ones. This camera is zoomed in a little bit more. So these wires coming out of here will go like this. This will go like this. This will go like this. Okay, so that's now connected to the remote controller. Now we have to get the remote controller connected to power. We'll do this. We don't need the red wire in this particular install because the remote will do that controlling for us. Not that we have a light anyways, but okay, and now make sure we put these connections grounding connections. I'll try to feed in through the other side. slide pushed over by the remote receiver. And then we have a bunch of extra wires that really need to get pushed up on top of here as well, like this. And the concept behind these receivers is you slip them in here like this, above where the ball and socket is. I just don't like the fit of this. I never have. It's supposed to just sit like that, and these connections will have to just sit inside the canopy, which I think is allowed. I don't think that's an electrical listed here. I think you're allowed to do that. And that will just close up on there. Or can I get these open? This over here? Oh, maybe I can. Okay, cool. That's better. So that's that. Oh no, where's the antenna? There's an antenna on this thing that I had to grab out of there. Here it is. The antenna. Sit that up like that. Make sure it gets a good signal. Alright, so that actually wasn't that too bad. A little bit easier times like this way. Sometimes those are a really tight fit. That wasn't too bad. Okay. Oh, come on. This thinking camera overheated again, didn't it? This is actually the worst this has ever been. I've never had it overheat this much. Or did it run out of battery? No, it overheated. It's only got 16%. We'll just go ahead and change it. I think that it overheats more with the media mod connected. I've never really used it in the summertime with the media mod because I didn't get the media mod until over the winter time. Now it's getting a little bit warmer out, and we're going to see how this behaves with the media mod. It might not be good results, I guess. Although the behind the scenes camera has been okay. This is actually at 3% too. We'll just stop and change both of them. You know what? Is that the North camera? Which camera is this? It's the same model, but one of these is newer than the other. No, this is the older one. I don't know what's going on here. All right, new battery in the behind the scenes camera. New battery in the POV camera. Hopefully this does not overheat anymore. I mean, it's warm in here, it's 72, but it's not like it's never been that warm before. I've filmed with the stove on and it hasn't overheated this much. Okay, we have new battery, we have camera, turn this back on. I don't know why this is overheating so much today. Very strange. Well, hopefully it stops. Okay, so now we've got to get the canopy put up there, and then the blades. I'm not sure how the blades work. I'll have to read the stupid manual for that one. Canopy screws. I hear some frogs. Always nice, good signs of spring. Wind is kicking up out there. We're supposed to get some pretty bad storms tonight or this evening. All right, we're having some alignment issues here with this screw. That's probably to be attributed to this medallion. Looks nice, but it always makes things more difficult. Hand tight is fine on this. It's not holding any weight. You know what? I don't blame that camera for overheating. It's hot up here. I don't know why it's so hot up here, but it is. It's been at least 80 up here. I feel afraid to be sweating after this brutal winter. I'll take this any day. Alright, let's see if this will go on. Yeah, it did. Easily. At least you gotta break sometimes. Alright, let's get these master blades opened up and see how they attach. There they are. So it looks like, I think that these screws go, each one of these has a staple we gotta save. Okay, gotta get it out. Otherwise, I think that, yeah, that's pretty self-explanatory. I don't need to read the stupid manual. Delicious. It came with dinner. Perfect. Wasn't expecting it to come with a free snack. That's great. Yeah, it just occurred to me we should keep this for vacuum tests. I always just threw it out, or I mean, I always put it in the refrigerator, but we should probably, we can probably reuse that for vacuum tests. I'm not too worried about these blades warping due to the shape of them, but I will try to keep this package anyway. That's a very nice finish. So I think the way this is going to work is the screw goes on top and this decorative nut thing goes on the bottom. This might be a bit of a challenge to do. Yeah, this is not going to be easy. This would definitely be easier with two people. You almost need someone to hold this blade while this goes in. Yeah, not great. It's not particularly user-friendly by yourself. I bet a lot of people have difficulty with this. Something wrong with that. Let me change it a bit. That's not helping anything. Always make sure you have the right size bit. Very, very important. Okay, that's a good bit for this. Certainly in stark contrast to the Quick Connect, which is one of the easiest fans to install by yourself. Too much. Too much. The pitch on these blades is absolutely insane. This bit's not quite right either. Seems good, but then again, so did the other one. This initial one is what's tricky. Once it's started, it's not too bad. Getting the first one up here is not easy by yourself. Definitely much better as a two-person installation. Because you got to hold this nut in place and you got to hold the blade on. And since it's so big, that's a bit of a challenge. This is going to look really nice in here, but it looks massive. It doesn't look so big at my uncle's house, I think, because the ceiling is higher and it's higher up. This just looks massive in here. I'm not going to make those very tight at all. I think they wouldn't just split. wasn't very good. Busted up with this one. Why is this all screwed up here? Integrity Electronics. Hello? Oh, there goes the rain. I hope the lights don't go out. I want to be able to test this out. That's a massive ceiling fan. I guess this weather's been pretty severe in some parts of the country. We had some rain last night, which was pretty strong, but nothing crazy. And I guess tonight we're supposed to get some rain that might be pretty bad. I don't think this is it yet. I think we've got a couple hours still. I guess this screwdriver's not going to cooperate. Screws stripped and I don't know. Maybe it's struggling to pull the thing through. I don't know what the heck. why it's locking up again like that. I think it's not pulling through as easy as it should be. No. It's definitely an interesting way to connect the blades. And well, I'm starting to get the hang of it. It's definitely not very user friendly. This one's not lined up properly. Wow, it's really coming down now. I don't know. That's not good. That's an interesting predicament. I don't know how we're going to get that out of there. Okay. I have another one that fits. That's really not good. This is all riveted together. I don't know how we're going to get that out. That's a problem for later on in the day. Deal with one situation at a time. These get so stiff towards the end like that. Refusing to go in entirely. I think this something is slightly out of alignment with this. Huh. Okay then. Yeah, this is really not a good design from an installer's perspective. I'm not happy with this. I think there are definitely some better ways that this could have been designed. That at least seems to be aligned now. All right, one more. Before it, so just take a break after I get these blades on. And before it starts thunderstorming, I'll go outside and make sure all the drains are clear and everything's working properly on that front. This is taking a lot longer than I expected. I didn't realize this was going to be such a tedious installation process. The one at my uncle's house does not look anywhere near this massive, and it is definitely a 68 inch. It's just the difference of it being on a 2 foot taller ceiling. I think his is probably at least a foot, if not 2 feet higher off the ground than this one is. I really liked putting the screwdriver in that thing on the ladder there. I guess I won't do that anymore. I'm gonna figure out, I have to get like a little tool pouch or something to put on the ladder now. I'm gonna do it one more time and take my pins in a bit because pockets on these pants are too small to fit that. I think part of what's making this difficult is the fact that you have to screw on the top. It's just a super awkward angle to work at. I believe these are still under manufacture from what I've read in the comments box. I'll have to go look at some of the reviews and see if anybody else had any feedback about the installation process. I've installed a lot of ceiling fans over the years, so I've got a lot of experience with different models and different brands and everything. This is not the worst, but it's not what I expect from the other day either. I've generally found a lot of the fans to be very easy and user-friendly in regards to installation. This is going better now. I think there's definitely a alignment issue on some of these, which is making it more difficult. This one is going better generally. Okay. This one wasn't too bad. Alright, I'm going to take a quick break to deal with some of this water situation here, and then we'll finish this up. Alright, everything seems pretty copacetic outside, so let's finish this up here. Shouldn't have more than a few minutes left at this point. Alright, now we have to get the switch housing on. Looks like these screws need to come out. So I'm going to take those out first. One of these screws has to come out completely, the rest are going to slot in style. I guess they're all screwed in too much. Oh, rats. One of these, two of those are slotted. Took off more screws than was necessary. We don't have a light, so nothing to connect there. Why is this not? It's not sliding over properly. These key slots are not working properly on this. I have to just take all the screws out completely, I think. For some reason, it's just not turning. It's misaligned, I guess. So I'll just get one of them. No. Oh, here we go again, another installer's woe. Yeah, these holes are not high up enough. It's going to be difficult to get this to screw in. I can definitely see why this was not going to turn on top of that. This is, I think, the same issue that was with a couple of the blades. The holes are just not 100% precise, and it's off enough that it makes it difficult to work with. This one wasn't too bad as that one. That one's off. I think we said that the OEM of this was the King of Fans. Maybe the King of Fans is not the best quality. I think most of the Hampton Bay units I've liked that I've used thus far are SMC. Well, I like most of them, but I think most of the ones I've used have been SMC. All right, installation complete. That's pretty cool. That is a massive, massive fan. Now, tune back in a couple days to see how it works. So the camera's out of charge. Well, I had enough to finish, but it's almost out. So now I gotta get a battery for the remote. Takes a 9-volt battery. Should have some 9-volt batteries on hand. 9-volt battery. I want to get all this stuff off the table before I turn this on, because I'm pretty sure it's gonna just blow all this stuff right off the table. Oh, so there's some smaller wire connectors. Gotta make sure we save these staples for whatever psychotic reason there might be done. Where's that? I want to put the down rough back in there. Yeah, I can't find. Oh, here it is. This down rod looks totally fine. I can't even really tell from down below here that it's not really finished. All right, let's turn it on. And that's it. That's as fast as it goes. But it is throwing out the air. That's impressive. That is quite impressive. The volume of air at 0 noise level, very impressive. I'm not sure that's going quite as fast as it should though. I think it was supposed to be 140 RPM on high, and this is not 140 RPM. I'm not even sure this is 60, this is like 55. I might have to check the capacitor. It seems a little sluggish to me. This is medium. Which, if I recall correctly, this is around the low speed on the one that my uncle has. Let's try low. I have to go back and watch the video of the one that he has. I know I've taken a video of it before. I think it's running a little slow. It's powerful though. It's even at that speed, it's pushing a tremendous amount of air. But I do think that that's a little bit slow. Wow, the amount of air that's coming up across the room. Very, very impressive. Well, we might have to revisit this in regards to the capacitor. I think that it might need a new capacitor, which, you know, for sitting in the box unused for 2 decades, I don't really think that that's unreasonable. But I'll look back on the video of the one that I filmed at my uncle's house, and if it seems like it's running slower than that, which I kind of feel like it is, then we'll go ahead and change it. If not, then maybe this is just how it runs. It's certainly powerful enough. I know it looks like it's barely moving, but it's pushing a tremendous amount of air down, even at just at that speed. Yeah, it's hard to say. I don't know. The performance is there. It just looks slow. We'll check it. I did go back and watch the video that I recorded at my uncle's house, and it seems like that other fan is going slightly faster. It's not a significant difference, but it is going slightly faster. Maybe that's even just to be chalked up to different years of manufacture, maybe different OEMs. I know Hampton Bay would kind of switch between brands over the years, and there are some models, I believe, that were made by different OEMs depending on the year. But I think we'll check the cap just to be on the safe side and see if it is in fact drifted, and of course replace it if so. I'm not going to do that today. It's running good enough that I don't think we need to worry about it for now, but in the coming days we will check it out. Now it's on medium. I'll put it back to high. It gets up to speed very fast. You know, by no means is it like sluggish to operate, but I just think that the top speed is a little bit under spec. This is probably just over like 60 or 70 RPM. The one at my uncle's house does not run at 140 RPM either, I don't think, you know, based off that video. And of course, it was an old video, not recorded in 60 frames per second, so it's a little bit more difficult to see the motion, but I'm pretty sure that it wasn't running at 140. Alright, so I just remembered something that we have to deal with. There is a bit inside this ladder that we have to get out, and I don't really know how we're going to do that, but we've got to get that bit out of here, because now I'm concerned that it might interfere with the ladder at some point perhaps and create, you know, questionable safety operation of the ladder. So it's over here somewhere. Right. Oh, can't make this stuff up. I'm hoping that maybe I can turn the ladder upside down and just kind of shake that thing out back the same way that it went in, but I don't know. Okay, so it closed properly with that thing inside. Man. Yeah, I think it's right in here. Oh. Cool. That wasn't bad at all. Alright, let's finish putting this away. There's nothing wrong with that. Now the installation is fully completed, and I'll have to check this out later. It's hard to say. I kind of feel like this is similar to the amount of air that the one in my uncle's house puts out. Maybe a little less. It moves the air very differently than a conventional ceiling fan does. It's a very large volume of air, but it's very slow. Yeah, I got nothing else to say on this one. So that's a wrap up on the behind the scenes. Lots of trouble on this one with the cameras, more so than usual, but we got it. And we had a pretty cool setup here. So I'll check the capacitor in a future video and revisit if need be.